You're tired of giving Trump voters a pass. Yeah, see, I don't want to give them a pass, but when they get hit and 2028 comes around, if they're ready to move on from Trumpism, I do want to collect them. And I would love to add them to the movement. You know, I want to make room for the people who disavow. I feel like we have to, because we're going to need more than just Democrats to really change some bigger issue things. I'm not exactly sure how, because like during the administration, I'm going to be brutal. But when it's over, it's kind of like when the dust settles and the damage is done, I'm going to be willing to bring people in who see the light and want to move beyond. I feel like we have to, right? And I'm not even sure exactly what that's going to look like, because right now I just want to burn them all to the ground. I do. I want to burn them all to the ground. But I also, though, what I want more is to build a base of people who are ready to really create some fundamental change. And the best time to get fundamental change from people is after they just get their asses kicked. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard, though, because the deep MAGA haters and the transphobes, like, no, I'm never coming around to those people. Like, those people are going to burn forever. The deeply racist, like, hateful ones. But the people that are outside the loop of that awareness, that are living in a bubble of their small town, and they're, you know, whether willfully or not willfully uninformed, if those people get broken down and they're ready to turn away from that shit, I absolutely want to collect them. And I want to collect them in a spirit of like renewal. And like, I don't know, I saw it happen after George Bush, and it gave us Obama. And it gave us a lot of change, which in turn gave us Trump and all the shit we're going through now. And I don't think we're out of the woods yet, because I think we have another 20 years of fighting the death rattle of whiteness. And yeah, we will have to wait and see, because I believe there are some people who just voted for Trump because it seemed like their party didn't hate each other. And the Democrats seemed like they hated each other, and they were all fighting with each other, and prices were really high, and they were being told that it was because of wars and immigrants. And so they were just like, all right, well, everybody I know is voting Trump, so I'm going to vote Trump. And at some point, though, it's one of those things where, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but we need more white people to be willing to turn their back on that shit. Because we're not going to win elections without some white voters. That's the unfortunate thing. And now, especially after the next 4 years, when the number of voters of colors gets reduced in this country, we do need some of those people if we want change. If we want retribution, then we don't need any of those people, but then we're going to give them the power. It's like we can get retribution only, but then we're never going to have any power. And we're going to lose more and more rights in the process. But I'm not talking about like this Trump way. I'm not going to make nice with these people. But after the devastation, anybody who's willing to turn their back on it, like I'm going to welcome them in the fold and then see what they do after we win. Because I'm not going through another 8 years of Republicans after this. And I hope we do this. Because, man, what I'm worried about is I'm worried that leftists are going to keep fucking their own side over. That's what I'm worried more than even the MAGA people and even the Trump shit. I am honestly worried from what I see online that there's a segment of leftist Americans that are going to just give us nothing but right-wing presidencies for like 20 fucking years just to like work out some anger issues they have. I'm worried about that. Dude, it's crazy. Like, I hope we don't do that. You know, I hope we don't. All I can say is I can put it in the sense of my own shit. There was a time when I was a drug addict, when I was operating on my trauma, where I hurt people. Okay? I hurt a lot of people. Like, I did some really bad shit when I was operating out of my trauma. And then one day I came around and I was like, you know, I want to live differently. And the people that like welcomed me wanting to live differently were really important to me. And a lot of people could have been like, F you, like you chose to live that life and now you're never coming back. But dude, if people come to you and they want to join your coalition, you don't want to turn them away. It's not about trying to woo them. It's about letting them in when they show up, right? And that's what's problematic with me about the leftists right now is like I'm already seeing it now, even with the leftists. They made this huge deal about Palestine and then Trump won and now Palestine is done and they didn't get what they want. They didn't save Gaza. They lost the West Bank. The money is still going to Israel. They did not win. They won in the fact that they f***ed off Kamala Harris and they stuck the finger to Joe Biden, but they lost. They lost what they were fighting for. Palestine lost, Gaza lost, the West Bank lost, Israel won, Trump won, and now all of us are being harmed, okay? And still now, some of those people online don't want to like come back and become part of a coalition. It's like they want to be even more anti everything with the government, so maybe we can lose every election. And like, dude, that sucks. Those people they don't even want a coalition with those of us who are leftists with them. And it's like, bro, you know what I mean? If you're turning away your fellow leftists because you have become like, I get it that, you know, genocide's really important to you, but is it really? If they did all the behavior that didn't stop the genocide and in fact made it worse, are they really even fighting about genocide? I don't think so. Because if they wanted to stop the genocide, then preventing Trump from becoming president was their number one priority. And it wasn't. They wanted to punish Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the genocide. And in the process, they did that, but they didn't. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are fine. They're wealthy. They're in politics. They have health care. They have not a care in the world. They're fine. They are unaffected. They're not punished at all. We're punished. We're punished. And Gaza's not saved. The Palestinians are not saved. The genocide is not ended. And in fact, it's about to get worse. And so all of that was like misguided. And I don't want to do that again in 2028. Okay? I don't want to do that again in 2028. And like I'm still getting attacked by people that are still talking about the genocide and still venting their anger about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's not about being corporate necessarily, but like, do you guys know how you win elections? Okay, like, let me just ask you this: how do you win elections right now? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but yes, money. Okay, if you don't have money, you don't win elections. That's it. End of story. So the thing is, if you're a leftist and you want to get in there, like AOC, but even look at AOC, okay? AOC is a leftist, but the leftists are attacking AOC. Some of them are like attacking Bernie, which is like crazy. They're attacking like everybody. But again, the thing about it is you can argue against the corporate nature of the political parties, or you can become part of the party and then fight with the party to change the nature. And that's in everything. It's not just in politics. I've been doing this my whole life. Okay, if I go into a workplace and I want to change the politics of the workplace, I have to get in there. I can't just sit there and talk shit about everybody in the workplace. I have to get in there and I have to make alliances with everybody in that workplace, with all sides of it. And I got to work the fucking political system. And the thing about it is, leftists in America, if they really want the progressive policies, we have to start working the fucking system. You know what I'm saying? We have to start working the system. And I don't. I see them like arguing about the system, and I see them trashing the system instead of taking advantage of it. And I already saw it with Bernie, man. Like, I liked Bernie's policies, but I watched the way Bernie behaved. And I knew Bernie was going to get crushed by the fucking system, bro. Because Bernie had great ideas, but he didn't know how to play politics. So we need somebody with Bernie's ideals that is actually willing to do the work. We need leftists that are willing to do the work instead of just being frustrated all the time, and instead of crying about how little power they have and blaming it on the DNC, they have to start like connecting with the DNC and taking some of the fucking power. And it's doable, but you can't do it by monetizing yourself being an outsider. And I get it, though. A lot of leftists, they want to become the outsider. They're the rebels. They're appealing to the young, angry people. And the young, angry people just want to burn the system. And that's great if you want to make money and be a rebel, but it's not great if you actually want to make shit happen and you actually want to change shit. So now I'm trying to determine who out there in leftist politics is just trying to make money and trying to be a famous political person who's the big outside voice that has a huge fan base, and who actually wants to change the system, the Democratic Party, like really make a change and really get in there over the next 10 years and actually do some work and maybe even run for office, maybe even sacrifice some of their precious money to go and run for office and have the experience of what it's like to run for office. So, right, because everybody, a lot of times people that trash shit aren't actually out in the trenches. But like, we really need some change. You know what I'm saying? We really need some change. And you're absolutely right about Pelosi. They don't want to give up power. But guys, that's just the way the game is played. And the thing about it is, though, is AOC is going to stay in there and she's going to keep fighting. She's not going to get mad that Jerry Connolly took the leadership position and then the Democrats and this shit. And now I'm just going to go and become a YouTuber and shit and I'll make millions because I'm AOC. No, she's going to stay in there and she's going to fight through the Jerry Connolly. It's like the Tom Brady story. You ready? I think this story, I tell it to my family all the time. But let me share something with you guys. A little bit about Tom Brady's history, okay? So he grew up in the Bay Area. Now, you may not like Tom Brady, but I like the guy. I know he's kind of a Trump supporter, and that annoys me. But I like his story, okay? And so I'm keeping the good of his story. But you ready? So Tom Brady got offered a starting quarterback at Berkeley, which was near his hometown. And they were going to center the entire athletic program around him. And then he got an offer to go to Michigan, which had a long history of football. But they were like, you're going to be the bottom string, fifth string quarterback. And Tom Brady took the fifth string at Michigan, bottom of the barrel. And he's like, I'm going to work my way up. And immediately, Tom Brady encountered politics at Michigan, where there was a young guy who the alumni liked, that the coach would start him. And then Tom Brady was outperforming him, but the coach started the alumni favorite. And then eventually it got so bad that they would start him for the first half, the alumni guy. They'd be down 20 points. They'd bring Tom Brady in the second half. Many times he would win the game. In the next game, they'd start the alumni guy again. So the politics was telling Tom Brady, like, you're never going to get this. You're not going to be able to earn this. We're going to keep doing what the donors want. We're going to keep going with the Michigan football power structure. You. And what Tom Brady did was he went and he got a therapist and he worked on being able to survive in that environment of surviving the political climate, the political structure, breaking that shit down. And eventually he did. Eventually, he actually secured the starting job, and he actually was able to survive that political system. And then eventually he got his shot. But my point being is Tom Brady, when he got to Michigan and he encountered the politics of the donors and the alumni and the way the game is played, he could have made decisions to get angry, to get resentful, to be like, this shit, to be like, screw Michigan. And he would have had every right in the world to be angry and resentful and to make those decisions. But the thing is a lot of times if you're willing to play the politics and get in there with a genuine heart, you can actually make wonderful things happen. And I believe this. I've seen this. I've seen, like, I've gone into toxic workplaces and I've changed them. I've, grappled with insane family issues and shit, like the step family here, and having, like very difficult feelings and very difficult political energies in my own family, and showing up, trying to be as resentment free as possible, and continuing to show up in spaces that are, inhospitable. And I know, though, if you're black or if you're a trans woman or something like that, if you're a Hispanic, that maybe it doesn't feel as safe, right? I'm probably speaking from a place of privilege. I'm sure, like, LGBTQ people and Hispanic people who have undocumented family, it feels far more threatening and they're far less forgiving and shit. But, like, I am tired of not having a leftist coalition. And I know that the Democratic Party and the Bernie shit and the Hillary, I know that shit went down. Okay? I know it. I know that shit went down, right? But it's like, that was 8 years ago, 9 years ago. We have to let that go, and we have to fucking try again, and we have to, like, get more allies into Congress, and we have to keep going, or not. We could just fight the Democratic establishment from the outside and talk negatively about them all the time until there's a fascist, theocratic, Republican Project 2025 government, and we can never win an election again. I mean, we can go that route, but, like, why would we want to go that route? I mean, this Trumpism, it should be fueling us to, like, get together even more, right? And so the thing about it is, I'm not going to hate the Democratic establishment when they fuck me over, because they still have the apparatus that is capable of getting me what I want. And so that's an important thing. It's like, if you absolutely can't work with the Democratic Party, then go start a third party and go build a third party. But I don't see them doing that. I don't see them building a socialist party. But that's my point, guys. Okay? I don't want to just trash the Democrats. And I do want to, like, burn Maga and Trump to the ground. And I want to resist. But I actually want to have national health care. I do. I really want to. And I believe that, like, I don't know. I don't, maybe I'm crazy, but I believe that I can, commune well enough to actually affect some kind of crazy change. And I don't know if it's going to be me running for office or me building a coalition of leftist people, but I see very passionate leftists, but I see them, like, being way more concerned about being the wealthy outsider themselves than about actually establishing leftist policies. And that's really hard, because when I look at a trans woman, or we look at people of color and shit, they need leftist policies. They don't just need people that are going to burn the Democratic Party to the ground and get rich and still feed their anger while they're getting punished by right-wing government after right-wing government. The trans people in America, the immigrants, the LGBTQ people, they need leftist policies. They can't afford to have an integrity battle with the Democratic Party while burning the Democratic Party to the ground and having nothing to replace it. Like, sure, Mike from PA, a wealthy white guy who's making $5,000 a day streaming, that guy can afford to burn the whole shit to the ground, because he's literally in the tax bracket of the people that are benefiting from Donald Trump and his cronies. But all the people that are being harmed by Trump's policies, that are getting their anger fueled by Mike from PA, those people are suffering if the Democrats burn completely to the ground and there's nothing there to take its place. So we need to get smart about this, and we need to get involved, and we need to get everybody who wants to get involved, and And we need to stop just eating our own and blaming it on the mythical they. Because I don't care how established the political system is, guys. I'm telling you, if you're willing to get in there and you got a little bit of personality and you got some drive and you know how to win people over, you can go into any system and you can work your way into it. You can. You just got to be willing to get in there. I mean, you just got to figure what your goal is. If your goal is to harm the Democratic establishment and make it so they never win again, you can do that. But you're also not going to get your policies, and LGBTQ people and trans people and people of color and immigrants are going to suffer dearly. And we may end up with a fully theocratic government that can never get toppled without 100 years of armed civil war, which, I'll be honest, I don't think the Mike from PA or whatever, I don't think those guys actually would ever go and do a civil war. I think those guys are getting rich being the rebels, and they're getting rich feeding on the anger and the hopelessness and dejectedness of a bunch of left-wing people. But I'm not convinced that guy's actually helping us get anywhere. Okay? I'm not. I don't think he is. I think he's doing quite the opposite. I think he's padding his own bank balance, and he's benefiting from the Trump presidency, while the people whose anger he's monetizing are getting really harmed. And then he's picking a group to blame, the Democratic establishment. And then he's like, make sure you sub to my fucking channel. But dude, we need to do better than that. Okay? We need to be beyond just, increasing our tax bracket. It's hard. It's how do we kick Maga's ass, but also get leftists on board to unite enough to actually create some real fucking change. Okay? Because you can't scream at a political power system and change it. It just doesn't work like that. You have to be willing to plug yourself into that system and get abused by it while grabbing allies on the way through the abuse until you work yourself into a position to create effective change. And that doesn't mean don't be critical of them, but we have to know how and when to be critical and who's our real enemies. I mean, as mad as I am at Nancy Pelosi for the Jerry Connolly shit, Jerry Connolly's gonna be dead in a couple years. So, all right, go ahead. So will Nancy Pelosi. Go ahead. Play your games, put Jerry Connolly, grasp for control. Doesn't matter. They're all gonna be dead in 5 years. So who fucking cares? Let them play their shit. The real enemy we got to worry about is Donald Trump. And believe me, as much as I want to see AOC the head of that committee, it's not like AOC being the head of that committee was going to radically change the nature of our fight, because the Democrats still don't have any power on that committee. It would maybe inspire some young people, but would those young people run for office? I don't know. The word I'm getting on the street from the young people is that they don't want to run for office. That's why you say you have to know where your place is in the Dem Party, but it's not just the Democratic Party. It's you have to know where your place is in every political system. That's what political systems are. That's what power structures are. Acting like this is just the Democratic Party is no, it's not. And the thing that shakes it up, though, is when you win an election. Which means that if you can go out there and run for president and actually win, you will then earn the place. But you can't be somebody who just trashes the party all the time and doesn't win anything and doesn't create anything. You're never going to earn your place. It's not just the Democratic Party. The whole nature of political power systems is you always have to know where your place is. And it's not like you have to know where your place is so you can just bow down. You have to know where your place is so you know how to climb up. When you know where your place is, you can see what levers you need to pull to get up the structure. It's not a bad thing to know where your place is, because it's politics is this thing where sometimes the power structure, there gets a weakness, and you can get in there and pull one lever and you can shatter that thing. But you're not going to get to that lever if you don't find your place in there and know it and learn the system and learn the structure. And so I'm tired of people who don't want to get in there to have the ability to pull that lever. They're just like, the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment. It's like, that. That's a huge, powerful apparatus. But we're never going to get it if we just cry about it the whole time and act like it's this unbeatable, unshakable, unconvertible thing. It's not. All power structures can be infiltrated and they can be used to your advantage, but not if you're, gonna resent them to the point of where you can't even do the work required. We could very easily just not communicate and try to undermine each other and fight and carry our resentments and grapple for power in negative sort of ways. And we naturally sometimes have a tendency to do that. But I'm tired of that, man. I'm tired of that on the left side of America. I get it. If you don't want to work with the Democratic Party at all, that's fine. Then go start another party and run a candidate in that other party and then do the work of building that party. And then, you can just be an opposition party. But it's like, if you're going to vote Democratic and if you're going to invest yourself in the Democratic Party to get your policy across, then you need to become a part of that Democratic establishment. And the Democratic establishment needs to include you, because the word establishment is like this idea that that's this unchangeable part that just abuses us and never gets us what it wants. And it's like, no, the establishment is who has the power. So if you really are far left, right, like Mike from PA, and he wants national health care and all this shit, he's not going to get it until he's the establishment, period. But then the minute Mike from PA and Hassan and all the far lefties are the establishment, there's going to be a faction immediately that are the anti-establishment that are then going to try to topple the establishment. The whole establishment is just literally who has fucking power. That's it. Okay, that's it. You can't just say, all the problems are with the establishment. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that, because if you topple them, you are then the fucking establishment. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. I feel like a lot of this is what Brian Tyler Cohen and Kyle Kulinski were talking about last night, where they were talking about that thing that on the left wing, the left-wingers we're not being funded. So every left-wing content creator is scrapping and scrimping to make money. So they are far more likely to be focused on building their audience and their own financial profile than they are actually cohesively working together as a unit to get policy passed. And at some point, we're going to need to stop worrying about getting rich, and we're going to have to start worrying about making the change happen. But man, if you're a trans woman or a black trans woman in America, this is life or death for you. You know what I'm saying? We are life or death for some people. And I'm sorry that I get it. But if you're a leftist content creator who made, $1 million last year, you're not. You get to have a level of integrity that a black trans woman in America doesn't get to have, and you need to be responsible with that, because we can integrity our way to harm for the vulnerable. And I feel like we did that in 2024. We integritied the left-wing party, got so mad at the Democratic Party that we integritied our way into harming our own. And now we're going to have to pick up the pieces from that. And bro, it makes me mad, man, because I feel like I saw it coming, But yeah, dude, the funny thing about it is some of the bigger voices of the socialist left, they are wealthy, guys. They are the establishment. If you have $2 million in America, I don't care what you say your politics are, you are part of the wealthy establishment. Now, if Hassan was running for office and in Congress being the voice he is on the internet, maybe he'd be actually like shaking the establishment. But Hassan is out there, and I love what he says, but Hassan is out there, you know, still trashing the Democratic Party. Oh, they're not resisting enough and shit. But Hassan is going to be getting the Trump tax cuts. Hassan is wealthy, okay? And he is the establishment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the problem I have, is even the big socialists are part of the fucking establishment. But they're sort of like saying they're attacking the establishment. But like, man, they're part of it too, bro. Like, they're going to make a windfall. Hassan's viewership is going to go way up through the Trump presidency. Way higher than it would have been if Kamala Harris won. And like, that's kind of a little bit of the problem we're facing here, is that some of the people that are supposedly fighting for this big change are actually part of that same establishment group. And like, so you got to be suspicious of every millionaire voice in this game, bro, including the socialist ones. Because I'm telling you what, man, if you have $2 million in the bank, you ain't a fucking socialist. You're a capitalist. Hassan is a capitalist. He is. He talks about socialism, but that motherfucker's a very effective capitalist. Like, dude, getting wealthy doing it, bro. A capitalist who is financing his capitalism by being a socialist spokesperson. But the problem is if socialism really took hold, he would lose his fortune. So there's actually an unconscious mechanism in those wealthy guys to never have socialists actually win. If socialists won, Hassan would lose his fame and fortune. So he's not intrinsically going to help socialists win. He's going to forever like be fighting the establishment in the name of socialism while he gets richer and richer and richer and richer and richer. And will he ever get powerful enough to where he will give all that up to get in there and actually become part of the socialism creation? I don't think so. It's like, that's what's really hard. That's what's been hard for me with some of my leftist voices, is I'm like, God damn, bro, even the American socialists are fucking capitalists, right? And because he says he's aware of it, that doesn't change the fact that he's doing it, you know? And like, where does it end? You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see him run for office, man. He's so famous, he could win. He should get into Congress. And he should take that energy he has and get in there. But I think he likes being wealthy more than he wants actual socialism. But we'll see. I don't know, dude. I think the big leftist voices should, when you get famous enough, you should run for office like they want Jon Stewart to run. I want Hassan to run as a socialist and get in there and win. And be somebody who actually runs as a socialist if he says he's actually that. Give up your fucking $5 million a year, run as a socialist with your fame, win, and get into Congress where you can be going on Fox News as a member of government with your hand on the levers of power and forge the path. But don't just use socialism as a means to make $100 million while the rest of us end up in the homeless work camps because we believe what you're saying, but you're just another capitalist monetizing that shit. This is the conundrum we have as like political spokespeople. And it's hard because, I don't know, it's weird. Like, Hassan is part of the reason why I got into politics, but it seems like a lot of the guys that don't want to build a coalition, that want to talk a lot about the establishment, they're all rich motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? Like, bro, you know? I mean, if we're going to do the class warfare thing, we can't let multimillionaire socialists be off the hook either. I'm just saying, I have some suspicions about these really big left-wing figures that I didn't have at the beginning of the election. I like have some suspicions about like who are the real socialists and who are capitalists disguised as socialists, because they're just feeding off the two-party system. So you have to look at the concept of being a socialist, because if you're a socialist, isn't a socialist somebody that's actually in the government trying to make socialism take hold? If somebody is commenting about socialist values on the internet, like right now, I am a media personality, okay? Hassan is a media personality. If he was actually a socialist, he would be developing the Socialist Party, building the party, and, winning an election and going into Congress as a socialist. But he is a media personality who talks about socialism and socialist ideals in the political climate. But he's also a capitalist, and a very good one, making a lot of money. Now, the interesting thing is Hassan is the establishment. You know how Nancy Pelosi and whatever, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, they're like the establishment, right? You have Jerry Connolly or whatever. And then there's like AOC. Well, in the political realm, Hassan is the establishment. He is like Nancy fucking Pelosi. He's fucking Bill Clinton. You know what I mean? Like, he is like the guy. Then there's like Mike from PA is one of the DSA leftist guys. Then you have guys like Brian Tyler Cohen. All of these guys are establishment. Cenk and Anna are establishment. Okay? Kyle Kulinski, establishment. In the political commentary, entertainment realm, all of those people I just listed are like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, right? Then you have somebody like me who is like brand new, whatever. I am not establishment. So what's interesting is Hassan is anti-establishment when he's going up against the Democratic Party for all of his viewers. But in the political realm, he is establishment. He's going on major news channels. He is like top of the establishment heap. He's very politically different than Sean Hannity, but he could very well be driving the same fucking car as Sean Hannity, is my point. But like now, one day though, I may blow up and have 5 million subs, and I may end up being the establishment. So what's interesting about it is when I come in here talking about Mike from PA and Hassan, I am doing the same thing that they're doing to the Democratic Party, because at the end of the day, we are all part of either some establishment or anti-establishment, depending on where we are on the pecking ladder of like whatever we're doing at any given time. Now, the point I am making is every anti-establishment person that is fighting a major establishment person is also the establishment of that anti-establishment realm. I know it's a little mind-bending, right? But at the end of the day, what we need to look at is how are we managing our coalitions with one another to actually be effective at getting some good policies for the human beings here and fighting the fascism of Donald Trump. Because, we can fight the fascism of Donald Trump in a way that builds our own personal brand and our own financial things, or we can fight it as a coalition of establishment and anti-establishment leftists that coalesce together to take on the fascist theocratic. It's really interesting because what I want to do is I want to be part of like establishment political influencers like Brian Tyler Cohen and Kyle Kulinski and Hassan, right? And Mike from PA even, with different groups of people. And like, I want us to come together and figure out like, how can we coalesce? And how can we build a left-wing media world that can sort of like fight the theocratic? Because at the end of the day, Okay? I don't look at Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden as big of opponents as I look at Donald Trump and the Heritage Foundation.